So, I'm Glynis, by the way. So, thank you for coming to my session today, because I know I'm competing against Chip, right? So I just thought, like, if even one person shows up, like, that'll be amazing. So, you guys are here, it really means you want to learn about SEO, right? So, thank you for voting for my topic and for being here today. I really appreciate it. So in this session, I will cover why SEO is important, how Google actually works, and give you a top 10 SEO essentials checklist. A bit about myself. I'm a clothing brand owner turned business consultant and SEO specialist, which is the latest title I've added to my repertoire. I actually had 20 years apparel industry experience, 10 years in which I was working for various corporations, and 10 years running my own clothing company. I help designers build a purposeful and profitable clothing business so they can make a living doing what they love. So they were talking about purpose downstairs. That's my purpose. I'm also the founder of Chase Your Dreams. It's a consulting agency. And this year I hosted an online conference called the Apparel Business Summit. And it's an online conference for designers and entrepreneurs in the apparel textile industry. If you guys are just anyone starting out a new business, it's worth to check out. And yeah, and just some media coverage that I've had. Just some companies that I've worked for. So let's get started. What is SEO? SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, which is the practice of increasing the quantity and quality of traffic to your website through organic search engine results.
Glynis, can I ask a housekeeping question?
Yeah.
Are we going to have access to your slides?
You can email me later. I have business cards where you can leave
Thank you.
your card. Yeah, I have a thing announcement.
Perfect.
Later
Thank
on. So let me ask you guys a question. When you do a search on Google, how many do you guys of you actually look through all the search results before you click on results? Usually the first page, right? And do you usually click on the first top 3 results or? Yeah. So hardly anyone even scrolls to the second page, right? It's usually you click the results on the first page, if not the top 3 results. So in SEO, ranking refers to your content's position on the search engine results page. A number 1 ranking means that when people search for a particular term, your web page is the first result, apart from the promoted advertisements. Appearing in the top 3 results is excellent because almost half of the clicks on any search results page goes to those positions. And appearing on the first page at all within the top 10 results is also useful. That's because 95% of people never make it past the first page, so which is demonstrated here. So here's an example of a Google search engine results page. I put in organic cotton t-shirt, so keywords into the search bar there, and this is what came up on the first page. So you can see the first 2 say ad, so those are paid pay-per-click campaigns, advertisements, and then the ones below it, the 1, 2, and 3, those are organic search results. So yeah, so there's a number 1, number 2, number 3 spot. So why is SEO important for fashion companies? E-commerce will rapidly reshape the entire economic model of retail, spelling the end of wholesale. So, you know, you can already see that happening. There's a bigger shift towards direct-to-consumer now, online e-commerce sites, so placing more of an importance towards that. In 2018, fashion e-commerce accounted for roughly 20% of the total fashion retail sales in the US. Every year, the category grows by 14% and is forecast to generate $112 billion of revenue in the US in 2019. So you can see, like, you know, the trend is moving towards online and e-commerce. So why is website traffic, why does website traffic matter for e-commerce? Well, obviously, in an online business, any conversion starts with a visit to the website. In the US, online fashion stores generate almost half of their traffic with direct visits. That means that users know precisely the domain to type into the search bar. Search traffic ranks second in the list of traffic sources. This metric includes branded and non-branded queries. So branded means that somebody would enter like Nike.com into the search, and non-branded is like if someone enters keywords like athletic apparel. And paid sources only accounts for 5% of the overall traffic. For social traffic, it takes a smaller share of overall volume. Social media is important. It's the purpose of social media would be more for building brand awareness, whereas for SEO, if you have a well-executed SEO strategy, then your searches will tend to show up more organically without having to rely on more paid traffic. So one notable trend, let me just ask you guys a question. How many of you guys tend to use your mobile phones to look like to do their online shopping and stuff? Yeah. So do you guys find it frustrating, like if a website is not formatted properly, like when it loads, like the text is too small or something? Yeah. So then, what happens then? Like,
You have to bounce from the website.
then you just leave, right? So there's a trend of moving more towards mobile. Mobile e-commerce is growing faster than general e-commerce and is responsible for 7.8 million visitors. Fashion sites generate globally more than twice the volume of desktop sources in 2018. So that's why Google really mandates the mobile first principle, as over like 60% of fashion e-commerce websites come from mobile devices. So it's really important to include mobile friendliness in your SEO strategy.
How does like an app for a store factor into that? So like would that just put you into like a direct visit?
And like an
Like
app,
you know,
but
like
not a
most
website.
retailers now will have, you can download the shopping app for that store, like H&M, whatever, directly onto your phone.
Mhm.
Is that just a portal to the website?
That's,
rather than
yeah, that's
be
a
direct
separate
visit kind of
thing.
or is it
Yeah,
separate?
yeah, it's not like the website
Oh,
itself.
okay, so it becomes a separate.
Excuse me. So how does Google actually work? So Google has automated software that's called bots or spiders that they crawl the web pages like the internet. it's called Googlebot. And so the bots visit web pages in a process called crawling the web. And then they add the pages they crawl to Google's index, which is a huge catalog of trillions of web pages. When people search, Google shows the most relevant results from that catalog. One thing to mention is that when you're doing SEO, like Google is actually ranking the web page, not the website itself. So it's important when you're optimizing to be looking at each page, rather than the website as a whole. So when you do SEO, you're helping Google spiders to crawl and understand your content. You're also telling Google your content is relevant to search queries, so your web pages show up in the right search results. Okay, so let's talk about Google's ranking factors. There's 200 ranking factors Google has. If you want to learn the complete list, that's a link to an article that talks about it all. So when you think like 200, that's pretty overwhelming, and it's pretty impossible to be able to, cover everything, like to do all the SEO, to do, for all the ranking factors. So this is if you're interested. I'm not going to go over 200 of them, but what I've done is broken it down into the top 10 SEO essentials checklist, just to make it easier for you guys. So how many of you guys have a website for your business? Okay, great. So how many of you guys have done SEO on it? Okay. Okay, so let's go over the checklist here. So number one is a crawlable website. So create robots.txt files. So these are more technical things that if you don't know how to do that, maybe it's better to talk to your webmaster about. But what a robots.txt file is, that tells Google what to crawl and what not to crawl. So it's just some HTML code that you put in there. A sitemap is every site should, like the webmaster should submit a sitemap that tells Google what to crawl, which pages to crawl, and the best way to do it is through the Google Search Console. And moving to HTTPS, which means it's a secure, so SSL secure website now, is a pretty important Google ranking factor. So making sure that you have the HTTPS in front of your website domain is important. So number 2 factor is page speed. So you could check that. There's a Google tool for it that will help you check your page, your website's load speed. So this is actually a pretty important ranking factor for that. The third thing would be mobile friendliness, obviously, for the reasons what I had talked about earlier, and that it's important to have a responsive website, which means that when you use it on your phone, it should basically size it correctly, large fonts for easy readability, and accessible tappable content, so you can use it on your phone. Okay, so the fourth ranking factor is domain age, URL, and authority. So apparently domain age is a factor that Google uses, depending how old, how long your website has been around. So the longer your website's been around, they look at it as like, okay, well, this is older, it's been around, so that plays a part in it. Then optimizing your content, so using LSI keywords. does anyone know what LSI is? It means latent semantic indexing, and so that semantic keywords are basically related keywords to say if you're writing something about like how to bake a cake, so you have words like, you know, flour, oven, mixer, like all those words. So Google takes that into account when they're ranking, so they look at it, that the content that's on your page, making sure that what is written on there is actually relevant. Understand search intent, get the length right. Apparently, around 1,500 to 2,000 words is a good number in terms of content. And then using video. Then number 6 is technical SEO. So in SEO, keyword research is really important. So knowing what keywords to use, and keywords are what people who are searching Google, those are the words that they would be using and putting in to search for, you know, whatever they're looking for. So using the keywords in your page title. So this is a technical SEO thing, and what you can get your webmaster to do is to fix it. There's a title tag. So the title tag is what shows up when they enter into Google. You'll see like the top. It'll say like, say for Apparel Camp, right? Like it'll say whatever their title tag is that they've put in for the website is the first thing that shows up. It's bold, and that's the part that you click on. And then there's a meta description that goes underneath, and it's like a few sentences long. So, so putting the keywords in your title tag and in the header tags, your H1 and your H2. So the H1 tags are like when you click on the homepage, and then you'll see like usually on the top, like where the big bold font is, that's usually the H1 header, and that's important to make sure you put the target keyword, whatever you're the keyword that you're targeting is in that H1 tag. And so that is also, that's in the code itself. So you gotta make sure that's in there. And then, so meta descriptions, what I talked about is the 2 sentences that show up on Google, like when you do the search, okay? And apparently meta description is really important in terms of ranking, but it helps in terms of like your visibility. And so having the keywords in there, you know, is more likely for it to show up, and then people will be like, oh, this matches my search, so they're gonna click on it, right? So it drives them to your website. And then keywords in the image alt tags. So that means like any images that you have on your website, you gotta make sure that you put the keywords in the description of the image. Okay, so I think it's something people often miss. You've got to put the keywords in the image description itself. And then schema markup is like a technical thing. It's basically a universal language that they use. So I can't really explain, but that's a factor as well. So just wanted to mention something that SEO requirements keep changing, and it can be hard to keep up with the latest developments. But if you want your site to get traffic, you have to be in the know. Well optimized sites get more and more traffic over time, and that means more leads and sales. Without SEO, searchers won't be able to find your site, and all your hard work will be for nothing. So it's important to understand this, because you could spend all this time making a website and nobody sees it, right? Then it's like you really wasted a lot of your time. Okay, so so number 7 is user experience, and this is also something called Google calls RankBrain, which is their algorithm, and they measure like bounce rate. That's a factor. So a bounce rate is like when somebody goes on your site and it's like, oh, this is not what I'm looking for, and then they leave, right? And click-through rate and dwell time. Also, dwell time is how long somebody spends on your website, and that's all measured. Like you can see that in your Google Analytics. Links, okay, so a part of an SEO's job is something called link building. Links are really important in SEO, and there's 3 types of links. There's inbound links, outbound links, and internal links. So an inbound link is a link from a website linking to your site. Okay, so this is really important in Google's ranking factor because they look at like if the higher the domain authority of that linking website to your website is, then it's like the higher your site will rank. So they actually pull you up. So you want good quality links from a website that has a high domain authority. Okay, like you get what I'm saying? So outbound links are links from your website to other websites as well. So like an example would be if you have, like you're an accountant or something, and then you have a link to like the revenue services, like the homepage, like kind of like that. So, and then internal links are links within your own website. So that can be in a blog or something. So you could be writing a blog about a certain topic, and then you can reference something from another article that you had written, then you can link to that as a reference. So that's what internal links are. Okay, so social signals is your social media profile, and it allows like shareability, which Google also looks at as a ranking factor. And then last thing is local area SEO. So if you have a local business, especially like if you have a physical location, it's really important to do local SEO, and you need to have like a Google My Business account. So making sure that the name, address, and phone number is consistent on your Google My Business page. You know, like when you do a search and then it shows up like on the side, it shows you the business with the name, the address and phone number. So making sure that like your name, address, and phone number is consistent across all the business. So the next thing, like business listings and citations, are the directories that you want your site to be listed on. So like Yellow Pages, Yelp, that sort of thing. But if you create those citations, you gotta make sure that what you put in Google My Business, it's exactly the same as in all those directories, okay? Like, I'm talking like, even if it's like you abbreviate something like writing street, like ST instead of street, that really matters because it'll make sure you're consistent there. Customer reviews is important. And then optimizing for local search. Does that make sense? Okay. So here's some SEO tools that are pretty useful. To check the site speed, we'll go to gtmetrics.com, and actually we have a little bit of time, so maybe I can do like an example. But so Google Analytics, like I said earlier, these are essentials like Google Analytics, Google Search Console. You need to have that installed, right? So that you can like look at your statistics and stuff like that about your website traffic. Google My Business, which I talked about, is important for local SEO. Uber Suggest is a free, it's a website where you can go and do keyword research. So it's a site where you can plug in and check different keywords, and it'll tell you like its search volume on the keywords. So you don't want to be pulling random keywords, right? You got to make sure that the keywords that you're using have enough search volume, right? That people are actually looking for these keywords, right? It's not just like you think that it should be this, but it's actually not because nobody's looking for those keywords. Then I can show you something later as an example. SEM Rush is a tool that a lot of people use in the industry. It's paid, by subscription, but it gives you a lot of information, and you could do like keyword research and all that stuff on it. And then a Mozbar extension, it's like a Chrome extension that tells you a website's domain authority. So let's see here. How much time do I have?
20 more minutes. 20 more minutes.
Oh, okay. So then, well, I can go to this GT metrics thing. Okay, how about this? Okay, so just a little quick case study here. A friend of mine just launched this company called The Good Tea, and she makes like certified organic t-shirts. Do you know her?
I do. She just came to our university and launched her book.
Oh,
Adila.
yeah. Are you from Palmer?
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, she was here. So yeah, she was doing her book launch, but she also launched this these fair trade t-shirt company, which is really awesome. So I offered to help her do SEO on this. So okay, let me just give you a quick example. Okay, you know what? This is gonna mess up or something. No, it's not. I don't know why it's not working, but I wanted to go to the website and then show you what my process is and how I would like start to do this. So, okay, so I asked her like, what are the keywords that you would want to rank for, right? And so she gave me a list, and there was, I can't remember what she wrote down something like organic cotton t-shirt wholesale or something like that. And so I went into like a tool like Ubersuggest, and I put in the keyword, and it came up with like 0 search volume. So I was like, okay, this is not an ideal keyword to use, but what is, and what Ubersuggest would give you is, if I was able to load it somehow, is that it will give you some suggestions of keywords with a higher search volume. Okay, so it gives you a whole bunch of recommendations, and then so you go from there, right? So you start like making a list of these keywords that have a high enough search volume to it. Search volume meaning like how many people actually search for this keyword. So that's how you start building your list of keywords. So you basically go in and then just like keep like researching and finding more related keywords, and then add that to your list. Like just pull up an Excel spreadsheet or something, and then that's how you start doing your keyword research. The next thing is what's important is to do a competitive analysis and to know who the competitors are. So kind of do these two things simultaneously, right? And I think Ubersuggest also will show you the list of competitors for those keywords that you put in. So if I put in like organic cotton t-shirt, like they'll tell you which websites are like ranking for those keywords. And then so then you'll know, okay, and you can go and check their website and then see how they're doing it and what they're saying in their website, and then you can kind of structure your website that way. So that all comes into the competitive analysis.
Okay. Question.
Yeah.
The Google algorithm will pick up if you're going too keyword heavy, though, right? Like if you're just dumping too many in there, it will negatively impact you as well.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. That's a good question because there's okay. So Google will penalize you if you go too keyword heavy, so you can't go crazy. Like back in the day, apparently, like 10 years ago, with SEO, what SEO meant was just like pretty much keyword stuffing and putting your keywords in like 100 times on your page to just be able to rank number one. But it's no longer the case now, and Google will actually penalize you if you do that. So there's stuff like that. Like that's part of all their algorithm updates. So yeah, you can't keyword stuff. So you gotta just use it, but make sure. And the thing is, there's a site that tells you that's a keyword. It's called keyword density. So that means how many times the keyword has been used on a certain page. And there's a site that you could actually be able to check, like put in a competitor's website and see how many times keywords are showing up. Yeah. So that's basically how I would start with this. And of course, there's also technical SEO stuff as well that would factor into it, the website, making sure it loads, the load speed and everything. Okay, so question you might be asking is, how much money will SEO make for you? So a way to calculate that is, there's an example here. So say you're writing about how to bake a cake, okay, and your URL is whatever / how to bake a cake. Oh, by the way, having those keywords in your URL also, it also helps as well. So if someone searches like how to bake a cake, the keyword in your monthly volume is there. So how to make a cake gets like 18,164 searches. That's keyword volume. How to make a cake from scratch, 8,100. How to bake a cake. So these are all like keywords, right? Related keywords that somebody will search for if you want to know how to bake a cake. And with the keyword the monthly volume, okay. So if you total up the total search volume there, that's 33,600. You take the average ranking click-through rate, which it's shown here in this chart. So if you have a #1 position on Google, you have a 30% click-through rate. Okay, if you have the #1 result on Google, you have a 30% click-through rate. Okay, and that's based on this like study here that they've analyzed a whole bunch of keywords. So say if your keyword comes up as #1 on Google, a 30% click-through rate, then that accounts to 10,098. Then if they go to your website and you have a 5% opt-in rate, and so you'd have to know what your opt-in is, and they like opt into the offer that you have, you end up with 500 leads. And so with that, and say you're offering something for $297, right? Like whatever it is, a course, how to teach them how to bake a cake or something. With a 2% conversion rate, 2% of those 500 people who you may end up making like close to $3,000. So that's how you can calculate and figure out like how to monetize your search, your SEO efforts. Okay.
What's the apparel industry benchmark for conversion rate right now?
For the conversion rate?
Yeah, like is there an industry kind of average for a
I'm not sure. I think 2% is maybe conservative. Okay, so basically I'll leave it at that, and that's pretty much the end of my presentation. So if you guys have any questions, and yeah, after question, I have a special announcement. So,
Thank you so much for your talk. I was wondering, what do you see in the future, in the next 5 or 10 years? What will change around how people use search engines or search engine optimization?
well, that's really interesting. Yeah, like because it's always changing, and Google, they're always changing their algorithms with what's happening and stuff. It's really interesting. This is the reason why I got into this, because you're probably thinking like, what is she doing? Like, why is she doing SEO after working in apparel? But yeah, my husband owns he's a web designer. He runs a digital marketing agency, and because he does websites, he's been asked a lot to do SEO, but he doesn't have time. So he's like, hey, why don't you do it? So I went and learned it, and this is stuff I've learned in the past 3 months. So yeah, and I'm presenting it all to you right now. So that's how I'm trying to meld my apparel knowledge with SEO, because I really want to be able to help businesses grow and to be able to get their work out there. But it's really interesting to see what's going to happen in the future. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I have a question regarding, you talked about optimized content and specifically the amount of words, the optimal amount of words to have on websites, 1,500 to 2,000. Is that the entire website? Is that per page? Is that like
Per page.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing a lot more stripped down websites now, right? So it just seems like that's an incredible amount.
Yeah, usually like in a blog or something on a homepage, I think it's like 1,000. Like, yeah, but I'm talking like blog, like actual content. Yeah.
That's interesting, so I heard a different target for blog writing where it was like 350 to 600 for a blog post. I've heard a different number for blog posts.
Different numbers?
More in the range of 350 to 600 words.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like you can go to the 200 Google ranking factors, and it's on there, and it'll tell you. So that's the number I found. Oh.
Do you have any tips on like optimizing your blog posts or articles that you post on your website?
Yeah, like the content length, right? Like I've read 2,000, but the word count, and then making sure you have the right keywords, and the LSI part that I talked about, the like semantic, making sure the words that you have on there are related. Also, synonyms, like similar words, also like so you're not repeating the same keyword over again, but similar words to that is also important. Just making sure that the content is as relevant, you know, to the topic as possible, because they really look at that, and that Google determines whether or not you are an authority based on what you're writing, right? So you can't just write a whole bunch of stuff with keywords in it and it doesn't mean anything, because it's really more important to start with writing your blog based on the content first. Don't worry about the keywords. Write it all first and then go in and put in your keywords is what I've found. And also making sure that your content is always up to date as well. Like, because Google also looks at the freshness. So it may not necessarily mean, here's another thing. You don't need, it's not the quantity, but the quality, okay? So you might think that you need like, I don't know, like hundreds of blog entries to rank, but it's not the case. You can get away with a few really, really well written blog posts, right? But just make sure that you update it, refresh it a little bit, so it's not like sitting there, and that may actually help boost your rankings than having to like constantly generate more and more
How fresh?
content.
Do you have a recommendation regarding that?
I would update it like every few months or something, you know? Just, yeah, that's about it. Cause, oh, and based on Google and how often they'll crawl your site, so they have something called, it's like Google, now it escaped my head. There's like a quota or something, like based on how busy your traffic, your website is. So Google has this, I can't remember now, but so it determines, like once it looks at your site, it's like, okay, you know, this site, like say if you're CNN, it's gonna like crawl your site more often than if you were like, you know, small, I don't know, whatever, right? Like then you don't get as much traffic. So your Google will go, okay, we're gonna crawl your site like every 3 months. But whereas you are like something like, you know, a heavy traffic site, they'll crawl it more often. So that's maybe something to take into consideration.
So it crawls based on your change in traffic or based on
Your
your
traffic.
refresh content?
Your traffic.
Your traffic.
Yeah, but they could also look at like your domain authority. So I can't exit out of this. Okay. I want to show you this, but I don't know why it's not working. I want to. Okay. Anyways, no, it's okay.
You have no, we have no Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah.
So you have to use data or hotspot.
Yeah, but I can't even like.
That's not me, that's the genius beside me.
Sorry. Go back to, I guess. Oh yeah. So what I wanted to say, if there's no more questions, I have this SEO ranking factors checklist. Okay, so these are the top 10 the SEO ranking factors. Download, and also if you want a complimentary website assessment, we can do an audit for you, so you can see where you sit. Right now, if you want to leave your name, contact information, or your business card here, and then I will email you that information as well. And also, yes, here's my contact info. So yeah, if you want to reach me.